Hello and welcome to REIGNfall, our weekly series on book topics for sci-fi, fantasy, and other great written fiction. I'm Josh. I'm here with John. This week we're talking about Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is a recent read of ours that inspired us in so many different ways. And what this book does well is it incorporates video game culture throughout the entire book. That's actually one of its central themes. And video games are, a 50, 60-year-old media. Not as old as the movies or radio, but this book shows you how incredibly deep the history of video games are, and it is fun. It wasn't my video game childhood, but it really did inspire me to see what was out there before that, and how good video game developers were from the first console game systems. But Ready Player One itself is a brilliant read, so that's why we're inspired to talk about just gaming in general.
Yeah, I think clearly it was meant to make you think of the MMOs that are out there now, probably World of Warcraft being the biggest one. The one that you could say is the scale that the Oasis was, right? The video game in this. Obviously, the Oasis was bigger, but World of Warcraft's the only one right now I think that would be considered, big enough to be comparable. But honestly, I never played World of Warcraft. I like Warcraft, but I never played World of Warcraft. So what game did you associate with, or what did you connect with while you were reading?
There was not one single mention of Nintendo. Maybe there was exactly one mention, but that was my childhood. He talked about old games. We're talking text adventure games off the original home computers back in the late 70s or early 80s. And so it was really fascinating to actually kind of get a history lesson. So did I connect with any of them? If they had Oregon's Trail?
Oregon Trail, yeah.
If they had Oregon Trail in here, I would be like, yes, I actually played that. But I didn't. Ironically, Johnny, I don't think I played any of the games in this book. But that doesn't matter because he had such a love, and he crafted such prose to show you how awesome these games were. Imagine a new technology. No matter if it's crude to us, that was a new technology back then. And it was groundbreaking, right? So this book is actually about how virtual reality, a technology that could conceivably change mankind, is the new internet. It's a new immersive reality for people living 50 years, 60, years in the future. So it's amazing how he incorporated all of the pop culture past into the virtual reality future. So yeah, I loved how all that came together. And he did it brilliantly. It succeeded because he just wove it together he integrated it so well.
He did, and I'd like to point out that the games that were really important in this book were games where it wasn't just a matter of you knowing all the nuances of the game, say like in a first-person shooter. These games were you playing against the computer, right? These were simple graphic games, but you had to learn what the computer was going to do in order to play and beat it. So he kind of incorporated, you have the Oasis, that's the multiplayer, player versus player stuff, but the games that really mattered in the book, in the competition, you were playing the computer the whole time. And those games took some skill. I mean, graphics don't matter, really. It was the point of the game, what you had to do to win. So they took a lot of skill regardless.
Johnny, I'm really glad you mentioned that because that is one of the lessons I learned from this book. This just wasn't a great piece of fiction. I owe Ernest Cline probably a consultant fee for actually telling me games, and I knew this. It's kind of like you go through a level, you have to make the right jumps, you have to actually time everything right to beat the bosses, and you can figure out patterns, and I knew that subconsciously. But after reading this book, there was one game in particular I have to just shout out to Bayonetta, which was an insanely hard, insanely original, out there, wild button mashing game. It was pretty crazy. I couldn't even say it. But I beat the bosses because I was instilled with confidence because he said there's a pattern. If you just follow the pattern, you can do it. So that actually was something that was pretty awesome, and I just associated with finishing this book and then going and beating that challenge.
So I associated immediately with, or connected with, Morrowind. I think it was the Elder Scrolls 3. That was, I remember picking up that game at the store, and it came in the box set, right? I didn't jump on it until it came out in the collector's set. So I was late to the game. But when I finally got that installed on my computer, after I had to jump through the hoops of getting the right graphics card to upgrade my computer so I could play it, which was a whole other story and a massive pain in the neck. But it was great. It was great to realize, hey, this game has cool graphics. I can switch from first person to third person. I can run around in this world. The coolest thing to me about Morrowind was that I could go from one town to another, and it came with this massive map. I mean, like a military size, 1/50,000 map, right? And you could see the paths and the towns, and so I would just start running, and it would literally take me a couple of hours to run from one point to the next, and along the way, kill small creatures, pick up experience points. So that was the first game where I realized, wow, this is huge. I can wander around wherever I want. Now, there were limitations, but still, wherever I want to go, for as long as I want to take. How cool is that?
I have to get into that genre, running around, the game genre of running around and for hours on end and exploring these open worlds. I know that's a huge genre within video games, and that sounds pretty fun. If I didn't have a job, I guess. But I have Fallout 3 and a couple other games that are on my to-do list. And
Fallout's right there.
I'm just scared to get into them because I know there's a time commitment, but I know they're completely immersive. And so this book talks about how in the future of games, it's going to be the number one pop culture thing to do. Like today, whatever's the biggest thing, sports and movies and reality TV shows and social media, all this is merged into the Oasis. So can you imagine being your avatar, being this hulked up, Master Chief type Spartan soldier and going off on these missions and the technology being good enough to feel like you're in the action? It's I don't know. It's for me, it was a pretty incredible escapist kind of dream to hopefully in my lifetime that would be awesome if that existed. Which I don't think that's gonna be the case. I could be wrong. Computers are advancing pretty darn fast. But this book showed you conceivably how incredibly cool that would be. Just to explore a galaxies upon galaxies of every faniverse out there. I was just drooling and just I wish I could do that for real.
I was too, and we talked for months really about video games, how much we each love them, but how much do we actually play them? You have an opportunity to play a lot more than I do. For whatever reason, I haven't made time in a long time to really play them. So, and I like, some of the real-time strategy games. I play some Diablo, and all that's really fun. But I had really kind of fallen out of the video game thing. And when we read this book, I was very much inspired to get back into it because of just how fun they are, and it makes you think of, oh yeah, I really did enjoy immersing myself in that environment, really getting into what was going on, feeling kind of creeped out while I was playing, or just enjoying the action, whatever it was, seeing the cool artwork that goes into the development of these games, right, those graphics that they can do. And it really inspired me to start playing the games again. And so, in a way, it was a good thing for me to read this book.
You seem to owe Ernest Cline a personal handwritten note then. That's really awesome. The fact that his book, it's a there's pop culture, everything, but the games was a heavy focus, and the actual challenges to get through each portion of the contest was video game based. So it was pretty inspiring. I'm in the same boat with you. I have to give a shout out, just talking about games and books, talking about narrative. Games themselves usually don't have incredible narratives, or they're not known. I think they're basically shortchanged because there's some great voice acting and great stories written into some of the modern games. And BioShock, the collection, just came out, and that's one of the most amazing interactive narratives where you kind of get that experience of making decisions that have real world impacts, kind of like in the Oasis. It's like your actions affect the outcomes. And BioShock is this crazy, insane merging of great interactive narrative and video games. It's just like something that hopefully will set the baseline for, in the future for other great games.
Yeah, I think the other really cool thing is that the main character in the story was so deep into the world of the creator, right, of the Oasis, and he watched every movie this guy loved. He listened to every album this guy loved. He played every arcade game that this Atari game that this guy loved, and he knew a majority of them by heart. And again, as I've gotten older and I've got more responsibilities and a family and a job and all this stuff, you kind of just start dropping things out of your life. And, don't watch quite as many movies. I don't bother to really fall in love with certain movies or series and really kind of, just watch it so many times you kind of memorize what's going on. So again, it kind of inspired me to kind of get back into those little things that I love, or just kill some time, chill out and having fun. I actually popped in my Blu-ray of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, which, as I found out, apparently is the third Mechagodzilla movie put out. I thought I'd had the original at one point. It's not. And I'm kind of glad I don't have the original, because I looked it up on YouTube and it looks terrible. But Mechagodzilla was a big part in this story, right? I mean, it was just fun to watch it and then think back to the book of what the scene where Mechagodzilla, and I'm trying not to spoil anything, where he comes into play in that story. It must have been really cool. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing this put on the big screen, which I believe this is in production right now.
By none other than Steven Spielberg, one of the iconic directors from the 80s, or he has the hits all the way up till now. So yeah, he's going to have a lot of material to work with. So again, there's probably other examples of books with games in the books or integrated into the story, but we were inspired to take a look at the fact that there's so much pop culture goodness around the games from before the contemporary console system. So Ernest Cline gave a shout out to those, and I think really did a justice to kind of exploring that history. So if you like good science fiction and you want a pretty interesting and different read from anything, I think that's out there. This book, published in 2011, it's Ready Player One, and it will be filmed, I think, released in 2018. So you have about 18 months until to read the book. That's plenty of time. So thanks for joining us on REIGNfall. This has been Josh and John. You can check us out on arenabooks.com. Rain as in the rule of books, not the weather. Take care.